Okay, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. We'll be looking at two main subjects today. Recently, as you are aware, it was Whistleblowing Day. You might not even be aware, but it was Whistleblowers Day. That goes back to around the 23rd of the month. And so we thought we'd take a look at it because what Media Rights Agenda, an NGO, has been asking for is that we do need to strengthen, the whole concept of whistleblowing and the whistleblowers, protection in this country. It would appear that they feel that things are not what would encourage the best in terms of whistleblowing. Well, Chief Okoye Obono Obla, human rights lawyer and public affairs analyst, is with us this morning so that we can look at this particular subject matter, as well as Mr. Oyedinma Chibuzo. He's an investor and entrepreneur. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning. Thanks
for having me. Thank you very much. I didn't get you one after the other as I was speaking, but I guess. So I do hope.
Yeah. Good morning.
Okay, that is Chief. That's Chief Obono Obla.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming on, Chief, and also once more to you, Oyedinma Chibuzo. Good morning to you, sir. Now, let's look at this subject. It seemed like a very good idea at the time. In fact, there was legislation to back it up. I think there was some law about whistleblowing, but fortunately we have a human rights lawyer and public affairs analyst in Chief Okoye Obono Obla. First of all, the whole whistle blowing concept, it is established by law, isn't it?
Well, as of now, there is no law concerning whistleblowing in Nigeria.
Okay.
There was an attempt during the last regime, the regime of President Muhammadu Buhari. I think a bill to that effect was laid before the National Assembly. But the National Assembly, for the reasons best known to it, watered down that legislation and then not even passed it. They passed a legislation that was quite different from the whistleblowing legislation. So as we are talking today, there is no law on whistleblowing in Nigeria.
I see.
That is why a lot of us have been saying this is one of the hiccups you find in the war against corruption, So, because whistleblowing will help, people to come out, out of their cocoons, so to make, reports concerning, infringement of our financial laws, our economic laws, our anti-corruption laws, and, so it is not, the law is not there.
Okay.
So what we have is a Weakness Protection Act that was enacted by the National Assembly. That one is different from whistleblowing because weakness is when already a matter is in court and then you are asked to come and give evidence. It's different from you exposing the commission of a crime, So because whistleblowing is just about exposure of the commission of a crime. And this is what we see. Sometimes people who are whistleblowers, they become accused, like this case of Jessam Michael we are talking about.
Yes.
Yes, he was a whistleblower, and then he has now been, turned into an accused, rather. So because of the fact that there is no law on whistleblowing, there is no law to protect people who whistleblow.
Okay. Are you familiar with that particular instance that was just mentioned? Talking to you now, that's Mr. Chibuzo, Mr. Chibuzo Oyedinma. Are you familiar with the details of that he just mentioned?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm very familiar with it.
Okay. So, that's a dastardly thing. If a person who wants to act as a whistleblower then becomes an accused. Tell us as much as you can about the situation.
Well, the situation is such that an incident happened in Africa Arbitrage Systems Limited, where the CEO of the company, due to health challenges, sudden health challenges, had to relinquish control of his firm to a trusted employee, and then he went for medical attention. While in medical attention, information filtered to him that things were happening at his firm. Luckily for him, he survived that medical condition he had, and he came back only to discover that a lot had happened in his firm. A balance of about $87 million that was sitting in the firm as at the time he left, by the time he came back, had been siphoned. And he ran straight to EFCC to go and report the incident. And suspects were named in the process, and the EFCC immediately swung into action. The first place, the main principal suspect's account contained about 400 million in PND, and the process continued, but it was rather slow. So he also ran to Interpol immediately, and Interpol continued from there, and they made some arrests and continued. Eventually, the case turned around, and the police got the CEO who reported the matter, got him arrested, incarcerated him for about 30 days before they transferred him to EFCC, who also incarcerated him for about 60 days before, following his petition to the courts for his fundamental human rights. EFCC eventually filed a charge, and we are in court today. So the CEO who reported the case is now being hounded instead of the person who has been accused for the theft and who has confessed to the theft.
Okay. Now, let me come back to you, if I can, Chief Oboyobona Obla. These kind of things, you probably are going to be familiar with, the things of this nature in your profession. How did we get to this stage where a person seeking to assist the law, people keep on saying in our parlance that police is your friend. If you do the right thing now, it could turn out to be a dangerous thing. I know that one charge won't fit all cases, but how is it that we get to this stage, in your experience as a lawyer who probably has this kind of a thing is not strange to? How do we get to that stage where a person who did the right thing, you turn around and you now want to persecute him?
Well, I personally, it's an example. I was the chairman of the Special Presidential Investigation Panel for the Recovery of Public Property. And I dabbled into areas that all anti-corruption agencies in Nigeria have never dabbled into. For instance, I wanted to know why $7 billion that was given as a bailout by Obasanjo's government to commercial banks in the country was not returned, was dashed. They said they dashed the money. So I went into areas like that, and then I stepped into very powerful tools, even within the government that appointed me, and I was, I was scandalized, I was disgraced, I was persecuted, I was prosecuted, So that is typically an example of how a whistleblower or even an anti-corruption fighter can be turned into an accused. And we have seen a lot of instances in Nigeria. Ribadu was removed as EFCC chairman, and then thereafter they went after him. They purported to dismiss him from the police and post, and then he had to leave. He left the country. The same person who Farida Waziri, who took over from him, to suffer the same fate. Lamode to suffer the same fate. Magu, suffer the same fate. So all the EFCC chairmen we have had, they have been turned into investigators, whistleblowers, into accused persons. And this is one of the pitfalls of our law. Because it is not encouraging for people who have courage, people who are patriotic to come out and say, look, so and so person did this against the law, and the person the law should bring him into account. Because if you don't have a mechanism for protecting whistleblowers, then we are not ready to fight crime in Nigeria. Because crime is not about corruption. What of the terrorism, banditry that has dogged the country for so many years? And because all these banditry, trafficking, corruption, they are all intertwined. Money laundering, they are all intertwined. So if you don't protect people who are whistleblowers, like Jessa Michael, who was a whistleblower, and then turning around to be turned into an accused person, by the same police that were working with him, he gave them all the information to make, so that they can, establish the allegation he leveled against some people. But it turned out to be an accused person now. So that is the pitfall we have in Nigerian law. So the National Assembly, so as quickly as possible, pass a law on whistleblowing. Because I remember during Buhari's time, there was even a policy that if you whistleblow, you will be entitled to a certain amount of money.
Yes, I remember that.
Yes, it was not done seamlessly, because when I even investigated a case of $2 billion that there was recovered, from some people who were ministers in Jonathan's government, and the money was kept in a house in Wuse. So a whistleblower reported the matter, and thinking that he will be entitled to his commission. They recovered the money, $2 billion and 850 million gold bars. The money was not declared to government, and the person who whistleblowed was not paid his commission. So he came to report that matter to my panel, and we investigated,
Wow,
so
I mean, it's almost unbelievable if it weren't you that are speaking about the matter. And this is what led, upon the occasion of the World Whistleblowers Day held recently that I was talking about, that the call went forth for, concrete steps to strengthen legal and institutional protections. Mr. Oyendima, how easy do you think this is? Because this whole idea of whistleblowing, it seemed that it was encouraging to just about all sides. All sides were encouraged by it because everybody says, I hope that we're not paying lip service to the fight against corruption. Everybody had said that, yes. And I was just reminded there about the initial arrangement that a whistleblower would get a certain proportion guaranteed. But that's worth nothing if your life is then in danger as a result of moving forward to take up that particular challenge, isn't it? So this is a challenge that we have. Now I understand the call that you should strengthen the legal institutions. Is this easily or readily done, or do you foresee, Mr. Oyendima, do you foresee any challenge therein?
Well, I think what we need to move forward is the will to institutionalize some of these things.
Okay, so it goes back to the authorities.
Yes. When we're able to institutionalize it and live by it, that's when it will make meaning. If we say it and pay lip service to it, it will not take us to where we want to get to, and the problem will continue.
Yes, especially the instance that you have just explained, with not knowing exactly what all the details are, but you are familiar with it, and you've given us a synopsis of this situation. That's hardly a pass mark for our fight against corruption. If, people like that, you simply just turn around. I don't know, it even concerns the police, because if the police, I'm suggesting that, they say the police is your friend. And if the police maintains, its confidentiality, because they always tell you that in situations like this, the identity of whoever helps the authorities is going to be sacrosanct. It's not going to be revealed. But this is beyond revelation. So this is why I'm a bit, quite frankly, I'm befuddled. Do we want to fight corruption or not? And That, I think, is what we're talking about.
Yes, I think that question goes to the core of the matter. Do we want to fight corruption or not? Do we have the institutions, are our institutions strong enough to do what is needful? Because if you take this present instance of Africa Arbitrage, when the police arrested Jason Michael and then incarcerated him beyond what is legally allowed, he had to go to court to fight for his fundamental human rights, which is the right thing he should do. He approached the court, and processes were filed and served, and the court gave a considered ruling that he should be granted bail. But the police authorities refused to honor that court order. And this is the crux of the matter. If rulings of the court are not obeyed, it becomes a case of jungle justice. Who has higher connections, who has higher power, who has higher strength. And that is not where we want to get to as a nation. So when the court gave judgment that he should be released on bail, the police did not honor that court judgment. And he had to go back to court and say, look, you granted me this bail, you gave me this, and the police authorities are refusing. The next thing they did, the next alternative was to file a contempt case against the police, because the court judgment has specifically said what should be done. And the police was not willing to do it. So he had to file a contempt case against the police. And instead of doing the right thing, what the police did was, in order to try and avoid the contempt case, they had to ship him from police custody to EFCC custody, so that it will imply that he is no more in the custody of the police. But that has not solved the issue, because the judgment of the court was clear. Release
Indeed.
him. But they didn't release him, and they shipped him to EFCC, and they continued. So if our laws are not being applied, and people are not being held accountable for them, then it goes to the root of what the issues are.
Yes. Okay. Chief Okoye Ogbonnobla, what would be your commentary on the issue of strengthening legal and institutional protections for whistleblowers? What would be your commentary on it, given the examples that we are able to cite here? I mean, if you don't have the police as your friend, I don't even need to know anything about crime fighting. If you don't have the police as your friend in such an endeavor, you're pretty much on your own, which can be very, very, very dangerous territory to be in.
Very good question. You know, I was involved in the anti-corruption agenda of APC government. As I said, I was chairman of a panel. You know, and before I was appointed, they told me, oh, this is a large-dish, effort against corruption in Nigeria. But when I started my work, it turned out to be different, different thing entirely. Those who appointed me were not even interested in what we were doing, despite, the effort, the courageous effort to, make sure that we reduce corruption to a minimum in Nigeria. So all this boils down to institutional and legal framework. We have to rejig all our laws, the law establishing the police force, because the police is an anti-corruption agency. The Nigeria Custom is an anti-corruption agency. Nigeria Immigration Service is an anti-corruption agency. SSS, Code of Conduct Bureau, ICPC, EFCC. So they are all anti-corruption agencies. Are they working in unison, or are they working at cross purpose? Or do we have cases of inter-agency rivalry? So if you have new laws, the new law will streamline all the other anti-corruption agencies we have to ensure that there is no inter-agency rivalry. There is a synergy between all of them. There is also the need for them to protect whistleblowers. How can you, somebody who is so patriotic to have exposed something that is going wrong in the country or in the state or anywhere, and then you turn around to begin to persecute, to prosecute, to victimize that person, to witch hunt that person, just like what happened to me. So who want to be, a whistleblower? Who want to be an anti-corruption fighter? So we need to streamline all these laws and then reject these laws. Because if we don't address this issue, we cannot have a country where there are no bandits. Because banditry boils down to money laundering. At the end of the day, if all these people who indulge in banditry, terrorism, if they do not have access to money, they will not continue with their crime, but they have access to money. So if we want to stop the banditry, terrorism, and other big profile crimes, then we have to ensure that we cut off these people, all these syndicates, all these perpetrators in money laundering, in banditry, in terrorism. We have to cut them off from their source of having money. So it all boils down to whistleblowing. If you have whistleblowers law, people in Borno State will expose the terrorists. They will expose the bandits in Katsina State, in Zamfara State, Niger State, and so forth and so on. Because now, if you go and report to the anti-corruption agencies or anti-terrorism agencies or the agencies involved in banditry, and if you go and report to them that somebody is a bandit or somebody is a terrorist, and you are not protected, and then you expose yourself, they will come after you to take vengeance. They can kill you. They can do whatever they want to do to you. So nobody will want to expose himself to that kind of danger. But if there is a law saying government should give so and so protection to whistleblowers, then people will know that, whistleblowers will know that they are protected, and they will have the courage to come out and expose whatever is going wrong.
And I think this is a very, very serious matter. Coming to you now, Chair, Mr. Oyedima, this is a very, very serious matter because the president has said that Nigeria is ready for business. And, this part of what, Chief Obono Obla was just talking about, these are the kind of things that, people who would engage with us will be looking at. How workable is that country? What is their attitude to law and order? And Mr. President, this administration is in the middle of reforms. He has said categorically that Nigeria is open for business. But if there are still aspects of corruption as bold and as marked as we are discussing now, perhaps it isn't well known to the authority, because this is in no way contributing to the effort, the reformist agenda of President Tinubu and his administration. So how are we ready if criminality will not be addressed?
Well, part of the essence of today's program is to throw more light on issues like this, so that the relevant authorities who are supposed to be listening pay attention to what is happening and then take a cue if we must do the right things. If we are talking about encouraging investment and those who are already invested are facing issues like this, in business, definitely problems must arise. Is sacrosanct. Problems must arise. How it is resolved is what makes a difference between a progressive nation and one that is stagnant or retrogressing. When issues like this arise and you do the needful so that the right anti-corruption agencies can pick up from there and ensure that justice is done. When issues like this arise and you do what you're supposed to do, and those anti-corruption agencies don't do what they're supposed to do, for whatever reasons, it will not encourage the investors we are talking about. Even the local investors will also be discouraged from even investing in the local economy. And that is why we are saying, in this matter, let the right things be done. And then even the anti-corruption agencies need to be cleansed first. A situation whereby they are also involved in the corruption that we are talking about.
Allegedly.
There is no way you can talk about witness protection.
Allegedly.
There is no way you can talk about witness protection.
Okay. When you say they are involved, I imagine that, you probably have instances you could cite if you wanted to, but perhaps we don't need to go into those details. The important thing is the overarching position that you have, which is that all the anti-corruption agencies just need to be functioning as written, as is actually written down, as opposed to what we have where, the fact that subject to one's not knowing exactly the details of the case, the courts will be determining that. But take what you are explaining now about the whistleblower who suddenly found himself on the other side of the issue. All of those things ought not so to be. But I suppose it's part of this whole situation we have in Nigeria where whether a thing is politically correct or not is another issue. That's yet another hurdle. Perhaps I should take this to the lawyer. This probably is another hurdle that we have to cross. It's one thing to know the law, it's another thing to be politically correct. Or is that an irrelevancy? Talking now, as I said, to Chief Obono. Yeah, please, go ahead, sir.
The laws are there. I am an expert in money laundering. I wrote my master's dissertation in the University of Liverpool on money laundering. And I was saying, in my work, I said, based on research, that, look, we have some of the best anti-corruption laws, financial laws, economic laws in Nigeria. And these laws were patterned after, several international conventions on terrorism, money laundering, on drug trafficking, human trafficking, that Nigeria is a signatory to. But why do we have why does it look that seemingly we don't have laws in Nigeria? I will say it's the will, the political will. The political will must come from government, the government in power. I've given you an instance when I was
Okay, we're going to wait. I can see your picture moving, but the audio just dropped. We're hoping that it's going to come back. Okay, I think you're back. Are you back?
Okay.
Okay, yes.
Yes, I'm back.
Yes.
Yes. So these are all the, what is responsible for the ineffectiveness of our laws, anti-corruption laws, economic laws, financial laws, and other laws in Nigeria. The will to implement this law, wholeheartedly, not selectively. You must have that will. That will must come from government. The government must support those who have been given the responsibility of fighting corruption. But when you like what somebody said, somebody was supposed to be the anchor of the anti-corruption, war in Buhari's government. He said, "I am not a team player." That is one of the reasons that they decided to move against me, that I'm not a team player. How can you expect an anti-corruption fighter to be a team player? Okay, for instance, there was an issue about somebody who was in government. He had offshore properties, up to $200 million pounds in one offshore island in the Pacific. And I collaborated with a government agency, and we investigated, and the report was given to me. I submitted it to the people in charge. And nothing was done. And today, one of them says he's one of the leaders of the coalition. One of them, he has properties over 200 million pounds outside the country, because the thing came from Panama Papers. The Panama Papers came out and mentioned some people from Nigeria. And I said, okay, let me experiment. So I took that issue. I went to this, the DG of an intelligence agency at the federal level. I said, look, I don't have the structures to investigate this matter. Can we collaborate? Can we partner? And he agreed. And they went on, did the investigation. After that, they submitted the report to me. And I was very excited. I got the report. I forwarded it to the president. I forwarded it to the attorney general. But nothing was done. That is nothing was done.
Well,
the case of having property worth 200 million pounds. Somebody who has been in public service all his life. The person, the character, has been in public service all his life. So that is the issue.
Okay.
So if we do not have the will to support, courageous people who are ready to fight corruption, who are ready to be in the police force, who are ready to help the country. Because if you have a good police force, this country will be a better place. Okay. If you have a good SS, this country will be a better place. Customs, immigration, and all those agencies who are involved in corruption or to make the country conducive, for foreign investors to come into the country. So
let me bring on a viewer. I beg your pardon for interrupting you. We've almost run out of time, but just at the last moment, AIG Durosimi, retired, has called in. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. An interesting topic.
Yes, sir. And
in Nigeria, you have to fight corruption. If you don't fight it, corruption will fight you. Remember the case of Kemi Adeosun, who was always talking about NNPC not rendering the right money to the central bank. He was blown away because those behind that make sure that they embarrass her with the NYC service or no service. We need to protect those who have provided information and whistleblowing. But sometimes, some of these whistleblowers make nice about themselves and refill themselves. After giving information to the police, they go about saying that, let me tell police, you go so see.
Okay.
It's not that the police is telling the world who actually gave them the information, but the informants themselves never keep them out short.
Okay, so we
need a law that will protect information givers and whistleblowers. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Mr. Durosimi.
Yes, sir.
I'm so happy that you called in because you're an AIG, a retired AIG, so you have knowledge of how it works, the systems. So is it probable, even though you've alluded to the matter right now, people saying that the police confidentiality is not maintained when whistleblowers come forward? You've said just now that some people go out and are boasting, for whatever stupid reason. But are you saying that the police, you can say, as somebody who knows about this matter, that the police are usually on their best behaviors?
I can agree. Yes, I will say that confidently. But some of these whistleblowers themselves at beer parlors and open places keep on telling others, look, I will soon do this, I will soon do that, I've done this, I've done that. That way, they feel that they are the one that gets that valuable information.
Okay.
But you must know that when you give information or when you whistleblow, the people you whistleblow to are very powerful. And in that case, they will want to fight back. That Kemi Adeosun case is a reference point. Police is ready to protect whistleblowers, but sometimes some of them refill themselves and talk out of point.
Okay.
To refill their identity.
Okay. Well, all right then. Thank you very much, AIG Durosimi, retired, for calling in, because that was a valuable insight to hear from the other side. Well, Chief Okoye Ogbonna Obla, I want to thank you very much. We've run out of time. I've heard everything that you said. The same thing with Mr. Chibuzo Onyedinma. We've also heard everything that you've said, and you have also heard what a retired police officer, senior police officer, has said about the matter. Just one very, very final question. What stage is this case at that you've been citing? Is it still before the police or before the courts to do the needful now? Briefly, please.
Yeah, as of now, the case is currently at the Federal High Court. The case is currently at the Federal High Court.
Where the whistleblower is trying to extricate himself.
Yes. He's at the Federal. He's trying to extricate himself from a case filed by EFCC at the Federal High Court.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the person that whistle was blown on is being prosecuted by the police at the FCT High Court.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Chief Okoye Ogbonna Obla and Mr. Chibuzo Onyedinma. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I will take a quick break.